right, Kate. So recently, did you hear about the stabbing between a black and that happened? A black person stabbing an Asian person.
The stabbing.
I don't know where it happened. Yeah, there was outrage, and
Okay.
what Asians did is they ended up marching against white people because a black person stabbed an Asian person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a great. Thank you for mentioning this, by the way. And I'll just very quickly say, the reason why this is so important is we talk about the event horizon. And if you don't know the way we use it, we don't use it the exact same way astrophysicists use it. They're talking about the theory of a black hole. I know that they have some pictures of what they believe are black holes, but still, it's theory of the black hole. And the way we use it and the way astrophysicists use it, and the reason why we have this sort of translation from there to here, is that beyond it, you do not know what takes place. Things, in our case, the societal context radically changes. And that is where the event horizon is where percentages of the different non-white groups and victim groups of various types begin to or conclude, and we don't know what those percentages are, but whatever those percentages are, they begin to conclude that their problem in society, their difficulties, is caused by one of the other so-called victim or non-white groups rather than Westernkind. And then when they begin to turn their ire on each other, that opens up what will be our last opportunity. We hope not to get to the event horizon. If it comes, though, we have to be ready to take advantage of it. Now, the difference between the event horizon that we talk about in Going Free and what you see some of these content creators talk about, these novelty types of people, is that they see an Asian person get harmed by another non-white person, and then they have this this weird fantasy in their heads, and it's built really on just the novelty takes, where you end up, if you repeat what they're saying, you burn your reputation. So where they say, we're on the verge of some sort of alliance with this particular non-white community, and this will be some sort of a great alliance, and because since they're non-white, they hold a higher status in the anti-white narrative, and since we are white, we have no status. So if we can ally with them, we can somehow. We don't have a people. We don't have a people to be able to ally with another group of individuals who see themselves as a people. First of all. Second of all, they are not going to be allying with us. And what Slots is pointing out here, and I heard this from two other places right before you mentioned it, that the Asian community, after being, and this is not the only time or the first time that this has happened. One non-white community gets harmed by another non-white community, and the next thing you know, the victimized non-white community is out in the streets or out in front of the cameras blaming Westernkind for the conflict between the two non-white groups. It's been going on. Why? Because we're the scapegoat in the anti-white narrative. Always the scapegoat. It's always got to be Westernkind's fault in the anti-white narrative. And so it's not surprising at all, but it is a warning to people who might be lulled into thinking that we can somehow increase our standing or increase our power relative to where it is today by some sort of alliance. What they're doing really is just anthropomorphizing the groups of human beings, and of course that's illogic. And they think that, well, then we'll somehow be more powerful as a consequence. We've heard it a lot from people when it comes to these lawsuits against Harvard by Asian communities. Like, we'll just jump on there as well. I've heard it from very educated people in the white sympathetic spheres, and the Asians have a collective bird to hand out. And it's a very beautiful Asian bird from Asia. And it's the longest of the birds, and that they can possibly deliver for white people when they want to show up and say, hey, us too, right? Now, that doesn't say that they'll never have a lawsuit where they don't allow whites to participate, because it might be advantageous for them in some way, but they couldn't care less. They're just about, and I totally understand and respect that they are working on their own well-being and their people's well-being, and therefore their individual well-being. And that's what I'm doing here when I mentioned that, hey, don't get caught up in this idea that we can make a alliance with one non-white group of people and thereby increase our status or power in society.